Welcome to the Women of Distance podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Kramer. These are the stories of motivated women chasing big dreams in the distance running world. You'll hear from women who are crushing it on the trails, the track, and the road. These are not just the stories of women's results at the top of the sport, but the full story of how she got there, the challenges, failures, successes, lessons, and life between the miles. Women of Distance is proudly supported by Open Fuel, responsible sports nutrition to fuel your adventure. Check out their products and their mission at openfuel.co and use code WOD for 20% off your first and every order. You can also visit the Women of Distance Substack to read more behind the scenes happenings, including how I'm using Open Fuel in my own training. I want to thank SOAR Running for their support of the Women of Distance podcast. SOAR Running design and produce running apparel that does justice to the commitment and passion of runners globally. Their collections are designed specifically for running, high-performance racing, and also off-road adventure and endurance. Check them out at soarrunning.com. That's SOAR running.com. Women of Distance is also supported by our good friends and fellow trail runners at Summit Roasters. Roasted fresh in my hometown, you can support the podcast by visiting summit-roasters.com and using code WOD15 for 15% off every order. You can find all of these links and codes in the show notes and know that we really appreciate you supporting those supporting us. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening. There we go. Okay. I am hanging out with Sylvie Abel today. Sylvie, how are you doing today? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing great. Thank you, Lauren. It's so nice to meet you finally. And I've actually been listening to this podcast a lot, and I love that you're putting on strong females. Well, now I'm calling myself a strong female. That's embarrassing, but I love what you're doing. I'm so happy to meet you.
I'm happy to meet you too. I have been looking forward to this. Just a real quick introduction here. I wanted to reach out for a couple different reasons, highlighting that strong female theme. I think, real quick, just by results, you are most recently off of the Big Alta 100K, the inaugural race that I'm really excited to talk about because it was a really exciting race, especially for that podium, those top three podium spots. Um, but the other reason I wanted to reach out is I've been following you for a while as well, and it has been very clear, especially maybe over the past year or 8 to 9 months or so, that you really have a story to tell that has sort of brought you to where you are. And listening to your post-race interview at Big Alta, I heard you really talking about having an attitude and a mindset of gratitude that's really helped you in your performance. But I think that attitude and mindset has come from a lot of life experience and work that you have put in to bring yourself there. And that I think is what I'm really most interested to hear from you today. I do really want to talk about the race and about results and that sort of thing too. But your story being very interesting and something I'm eager to learn more about. So let's dive into that and start at the very beginning, as we always do in this podcast. Where did athletics first enter your life?
First off, thank you so much for following. You never really know when you're sharing these things, online and post-race interviews when all your brain cells are gone and you're severely just blabbering. You don't know who's listening, and it's very nice to know that someone's listening and cares. And for me personally, the story is so much more important than any results. And um results come and go, and there's always going to be somebody faster in the world. Like, it doesn't really matter. What matters is your story and that you keep writing that story. um
Mm.
but yes, I think it's funny that the first question you ask is like about athletics, because I never really saw myself as an athlete for most of my life. I was just a weird, skinny kid, who loved being outside and a little nerdy, I guess, like in my childhood. Anyway, I loved reading. I loved being outside. I loved, like, me and my friends when we were little. We literally loved playing in the mud and doing all sorts of outdoor activities. But it was never like a structured athletics type thing. Like I was not a jock by any means. And um I also I was born in Prague in Czech Republic, which to our American friends and listeners is Central Europe, even though the cultural the way the culture is kind of set is somewhat an Eastern European Slavic like set of traditions and language. However, like geographically, that's Central Europe, which is a great place to be a kid. It really is. It was wonderful. Life wasn't always easy. Like we didn't have much money, but we were free range European kids. Um, it was wonderful. Yeah, we were always outside. So uh, I wasn't an athlete, but I was always moving. And I think that helps as a foundation. Anytime we wanted to go to a friend's house or to school, we would ride our bikes or walk or run. And that was just a means of transportation. That wasn't like I'm an athlete or like I'm like on Strava racking up these miles. That was just how you got places. And what's also very important to say, I think, is in at least where I grew up, but I think it's the case in a lot of European countries. We don't have that culture of like the college sports and the high school sports. We do sports and we have physical education and some athletic I'm sorry, what's the word? Like competitions
Mhm.
for the school, but it's not a huge focus and yeah, I was never an athlete in high school or college.
In a traditional sense, maybe, but I really enjoy hearing that perspective of like your body was a tool that you used
Yeah.
for transportation, but also for joy, for play, and just letting your body experience the world and move through the world in that own way. I think that's important and interesting too.
And also, my my parents, especially my father, who I love dearly. I love both my parents. He is very eco-friendly, as a lot of European parents are, and I mean, hopefully me too. But we owned a car as a family, um, but one car, but we never took it out of the garage. My dad would just always be like, it's just minus 16 degrees Celsius. Like, you can bike to school. Here's a helmet. And sometimes I didn't even wear one, but I biked to school. It was sleet. It was ice. It was 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Whatever it was, we just never really knew anything else. Like, you just do it unless you're sick. But you would have to be really sick to stay. I just
Do you feel like it's interesting to hear you say that, especially I think of like our American perspective and maybe even just in 2026 with technology, like the it's so easy to be comfortable, or it can be so easy to be comfortable. I know even just for myself this winter, it was brutal on the East Coast, and I spent so much time on the treadmill, not because I couldn't go outside, but because it was cold and I didn't want to. Do you feel like growing up with that sort of ethos around the environment and being environmentally conscious in that way, and just you again kind of using your body as a tool, and you took yourself where you needed to go? Do you feel like that had an impact that stayed with you long term?
Lauren, I would really hope so, but oh my goodness, I've been living in California for 10 years, and every time I go home, which I go at least once a year back to Czech Republic to visit my friends and family, because I still have very deep roots and I still miss them and love them dearly every day. I go home, and every year I feel myself getting a little more like Californication is just like taking a root, which not to say that people who live in California are not tough, but I feel like they're tough in different ways.
Mhm.
In my opinion, like it's very tough to not have a lot of vacation time, worrying about where your healthcare is coming from, like having to work really long days. Like Czech people don't worry about any of those things. Um, But weather-wise, I'm very spoiled. I'm trying really hard to keep coming back to my roots, to where I came from, to not become a wuss. But that said, I'm trying to do a race here pretty soon that's about to be pretty rainy, I think, and I'm already, like, just sweating. Like, "Don't make me be cold, please. I don't want." But
Well,
yeah.
maybe this is the moment for you then to start recalling and pulling back on those early impressions. So elaborate then, when do you feel like, and maybe I'll let you sort of tee up and tell this story. When do you feel like sport in any sort of a competitive sense or an organized sense entered your life?
So if I think really, you know, to my childhood, like, sure, my teacher at school, maybe in high school, would put me in some sort of like athletic competitions for like the 800 meters. But I literally never trained a single day, like not a single
Yeah.
day. And I just had to show up to these competitions because I was the skinny kid, and I was, like, naturally, like, that type of yeah, like, body type. So she, like, assumed that I would be good at running, and since our class we were mostly, like, pretty nerdy kids, I was just kinda chosen to do that, and I was like, I just ran as hard as I could and didn't know what I was doing, nor did I enjoy it, honestly. It was very nerve-wracking. But years later, when I was finishing my master's degree, um, in Prague still, I was very stressed. I was working, I was going to school, I was trying to do a good job and all those things. And I think my mental health has always been like uh, a, a topic, or like I've never I never really, understood, like, how you're supposed to take care of your mental health, and it's been just, years and years of learning, and, one day, I remember my dad made some sort of a joke about me not being very athletic, and I was like, "Ah, whatever, dad, I'm gonna go run a 10K right now, and just watch me." And I went, outside, just my sneakers, and I ran a 10K, like, it wasn't very pretty, and it wasn't very fast either. But I did it, and I came home. It was summertime, and I just remember the feeling of, like, "Oh my goodness, I feel so great in my brain right now, and
Mm.
I feel so happy and at peace." And it's like, um well, this is a terrible comparison, but, hearing people that do drugs um, and they maybe recovered from that addiction, and hearing them talk about, "Oh, like, when I first tried that thing, I knew right away that it was gonna be a problem." I'm like, "That's running?" Like, I it's not a problem, obviously, but I knew right away, like, I wanted that relationship to continue. I wasn't sure
Mhm.
what that meant. I didn't even know, I mean, I didn't know for a long time how you're supposed to do this. I didn't understand how people run a marathon. I thought that was absolutely insane. Like, 42 kilometers, like, what? Are you kidding me? That's so far. Um, but then I just continued running, yeah, just for fun, just because it made me feel happy. And then, upon moving to California 10 years ago, I mean, I basically started running kind of like roughly 10 years ago. And, shortly after I did this first run, we moved to California, and then the nature here is so beautiful, and trails are so accessible, and the culture is really, um yeah, I it was easy to fall in love with trail running.
Hey, folks, quick interruption to make sure to say thank you to Open Fuel for supporting the Women of Distance podcast. Open Fuel is responsible sports nutrition to fuel your adventure. Check them out at openfuel.co. Right now, I'm loving their Ultra Fuel drink mix with 60 grams of carbs and 500 milligrams of sodium all in one serving. Soon, they'll also be adding a gel mix to their product lineup. Again, check them out at openfuel.co and use code WOD to get 20% off your order every time and support the podcast at the same time. Find the link and the code in the show notes.
Sorry, I don't know if that answers the question.
That
Yeah.
does answer my question. So come back around a little bit. We'll come back to then trail running and how things evolved from there. But come back and let's touch on that story of what brought you to the US from the Czech Republic.
Well, it's kind of a bittersweet story because, well, I don't want to sound ungrateful because I'm very grateful to be here. But in the beginning, moving from Czech Republic to California is not necessarily something I wanted. Um, every immigrant in the United States is here for a different reason. Um, some people really, really need to be here because their country is not safe or um, doesn't allow for any kind of growth. Whereas where I come from, that's a very beautiful, safe place that I would have been perfectly fine living there. But I got married young to my ex-husband who was Czech. And he was very young as well. He was even younger, a year younger than me. But he got offered to work for Apple in Cupertino in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley. So he took that offer, and I followed him here, and um, yeah, it was tough. I don't know how how
Yeah.
deep you want to go on this, but basically, I was under the impression that we were coming here for like maybe a year. And
Hmm.
even that was heartbreaking for me because I was always used to being around my family, around my friends. Like I said, like I absolutely adore my parents. I had a lot of best friends growing up, and um, suddenly you find yourself going to the other side of the world with a suitcase, and you don't know a single soul. And yeah, I mean, you have a partner, but that partnership unfortunately was not a very healthy one either. So I found myself pretty lonely a lot of the times and confused, even though I spoke English, which was great since we learn English as Czech kids, but I also studied in English at the university. So I spoke English pretty much. I understood 98% of what people were saying. But when it comes to like those cultural nuances, I was completely just unaware. I mean, I can't even tell you, like, there's a million different things that happened when I first got here, and maybe it took like a year and a half to like stop being really, really weird. But basically, I don't know, just a small example, like I would go to the store and be very self-conscious about it. And when the person at the grocery store was at the end of the when I was paying and they were trying to bag my groceries, I would try to tip them because like I didn't know that that's their job. I just assumed that I don't know what I thought. Honestly, it's little things that you don't ever think about when you live somewhere. But when you're new, everything is new. And yes, I come from like place that's very much been westernized. Like Czech Republic is an evolved society. We have all the same things, but the culture is a little different.
Culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk
So
a little bit about maybe then that first year, year and a half, as you feel like you were figuring things out. What kind of tools did you use to be able to, obviously, in this very challenging situation of leaving your family, leaving your country, what kind of things did you do to make yourself feel familiar or more comfortable or supported when you did make that transition?
Um, to be perfectly honest, Lauren, I was not comfortable. I was not supported,
Yeah.
and I didn't make any progress. Well, I did make progress, but it was painful. The first year and a half was extremely painful. It was just honestly like when you're in it, you're just kind of taking it day by day. But for me, like looking back, I feel kind of sad uh for that girl because it was so painful. It felt lonely. I really tried to find my place. I would say if we're gonna focus on the positives, like what really helped me feel at home here was finding trails. When I realized that, this place had incredible trail systems, I just kind of immersed myself in that. And when I was able to go be on the trails, I remember there's this park called Quicksilver. Um, Also, a famous race of the same name takes place here, the Quicksilver 100K, 50K. And I remember going there, and that was the first place I've ever felt home on this continent.
Mm.
Because, and I just remember running. I wasn't running very fast, but I was just spending time in that nature and seeing the deer and the little birdies and everything. And I felt like, okay, I can breathe here. Whereas anytime I went back home, it was tough because it was just a tough place to be with. Basically in a very toxic situation. And then when I went to try to meet people out of the home, I just didn't know where my place was. And I remember like spending a lot of time at the dog park, which was pretty great because dog people are cool. But I also remember like situations like I would tell somebody I was new and I came from Czech Republic. And this guy who absolutely clueless what Czech Republic was like, "Oh my goodness. Oh, don't worry, honey. You're safe now. You're here." And I was like, we have free healthcare, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. This is Wild West. Like, I don't know if I'm safe here. This is terrifying."
I love that. That's hilarious. Um, it sounds like just hearing you talk about your experience with connecting with the trails and running, it sounds very similar to that story you told about running that 10K, proving your dad right and having that, or proving him wrong and having that sort of mental epiphany for yourself of how this could really be a tool for you and something that was really helpful for you. Um, I know I will let you go into the story as much as you do or you don't want to. I know you ultimately left this relationship. How do you, what did that look like? And how do you feel like trails and running maybe played into that story in the background in any way?
It's a very interesting thing to look back in hindsight because when I was in it, or when you are in any sort of difficult situation, sometimes you feel like that frog in hot water, like
Hmm.
just frozen, just like, something pretty terrible is happening to you, but you can't move anymore and you're just gonna have to let it happen. But for me, luckily, well, the way trail running plays into this is very interesting because I was in a relationship with someone who was absolutely brilliant, who was very, very funny, um, very liked in the community, very smart. And when things were good, they were great. And then when they weren't, they were absolutely terrifying.
Hmm.
Uh, and I was in denial for a while, like deep, deep denial, like thinking everything that was happening was my fault. And if
Hmm.
I was tougher, if I was only stronger, if somehow I was better looking, better, harder working, whatever, then maybe those things would not be happening. Maybe this person would treat me better.
Hmm.
Um, I have to say trail running gave me confidence because completing like really long races, it doesn't matter, it's a race. It could be just a adventure that you do. Being out there for hours and doing this thing um continuously was proving to me that I actually was tough, that I actually was strong, I was capable, and the fact that somebody keeps telling you that you're not doesn't necessarily make it true. Um, and then also meeting more people in this area and realizing that the way I'm treated at home is not how a person should be treated. And if I ever want to become a mom, this is never going to happen because it's a dangerous situation. And like, I can't, yeah, finally, after several years of I mean, honestly, I even went to therapy. So this is important that, when you're going through something that people go to therapy. And I basically was telling the therapist something was wrong with me. And
Hmm.
then after several sessions, she was like, "You are in an abusive relationship, and you need to start seeing it because it's a dangerous place to be. And here is my number, and here is a church with like a mm, place where you can go if you ever feel like your life is in danger, basically." Which was the first time I guess took it seriously. Um, However, it took me another year and a half to leave. And it was very hard because, you being in a relationship like this doesn't mean that you don't love the person, doesn't mean that deep
Hmm.
down they're trying to be better. They just have pretty serious issues. And yeah, I mean, whether we call it PTSD or whatever you want to call it, it's sometimes all you can do is save yourself and let that person work on themselves, which is ultimately what happened. And I'm very proud of them for doing so. But that happened after I left. And I
Hmm.
think it was a wake up call, probably.
I think that's a really powerful story of running, sort of being an avenue of showing yourself who you were and who you could be. And also the community and the professional support around you who was an example for you of what could be. I think that's really powerful.
I
Talk
do
about, go
sorry.
ahead.
I do think a lot of like the confidence that I was able to build for myself uh comes from trail running,
Mhm.
because like a proof, it's like you continuously prove to yourself that you're capable of overcoming, and that you are capable of like standing up for yourself and continuing even though things get terribly hard. And obviously, like, no race will ever be as hard as some of the things that I've been through, like, outside of racing. Um, but the racing still is like a safe, quote unquote safe. Like, we still sign a waiver. If you fall off this mountain, like, don't sue us. But you do continuously like put yourself in these situations where um at fairly low stakes,
Yes.
you you can build your confidence up. And I would really highly recommend to anybody struggling with confidence, or being slightly insecure, or not being sure if they can do something, to start small and keep doing it and keep putting yourself in those situations. And every time you can bump it up a little more.
I love this. I wholeheartedly agree with sport in general being a safe space to practice life
Mhm.
skills. It's a safe place to fail, a safe place to grow, a safe place to learn. And all of those skills in, like you said, a low stakes environment translate to real life and real things. And that's really powerful. I love that you put that to words. Um, Expand a little bit on what brought you to the point of being able to actually make that decision for yourself and move on with your own life in your own way.
Um, you know, it's a very intimate thing to talk about, but basically me and my ex-partner kind of lived together, but it wasn't really like intimate relationship anymore for a really long time. I think we just had a hard time letting go. Um and at the same time, like, a lot of the volatile stuff like kept escalating, and I felt like I was becoming quieter and less and less and less. And I just, became so afraid to even kind of move around in my own house. Well, rented house. Um, and then, yeah, I basically one day, I told him, I met someone, and I am ready to leave. And I feel like he didn't really take it very seriously. Um, and then we've tried couples therapy, we've tried different things, but basically, even the therapist was like, I won't treat you guys because I don't think this is like a safe situation. Um, I think one day she's gonna get hurt,
Mm.
point where, you know, I think you guys shouldn't even be in the same house together. I think she should be somewhere else safe. So it was heartbreaking. It was basically just he needed to we needed to remove ourselves and he needed to basically take it seriously and start going into treatment for these issues. Um and it's heartbreaking because, I really want to say for the record, like, I never, even though somebody's like done some things that were really, really, really tough, that's doesn't mean they're a monster. It just means they're a person who's been also hurt in the past, perhaps by their parents or someone else who was supposed to protect them. And they never really learned how to love and never really learned how to process their own emotions and how to regulate themselves. And, as a young male with all this rage, it's really hard. Like, where are you going to learn that once you're an
Mhm.
adult working and you're busy and you're just, um, life just happens really fast. So I also don't feel like a victim, and I've never felt like a victim. Um, I just feel like someone who at one point was very scared and somehow learned to become a whole lot stronger and also not put myself in those situations anymore.
Mhm. It's a really mature and also empathetic perspective.
Y-
Um, Talk about what you did then. Where did you go and how did you move forward down your own path?
Well, basically, if you are coming here with your spouse, and they're on a like a working visa, once you divorce, which we did, you lose everything. Like, I'm talking, you lose your visa, you lose your healthcare, you lose your driver's license. You don't really have any money because they controlled all that. So, I did have a job, but I was not like h- highly paid. I was teaching at the time, at like a little private school in Los Gatos. Um, and I went back to Europe for a while, and basically, um my current husband of now many years was someone that was always, we were very close. I mean, I did secretly love him, but I didn't really want to like start anything. It's just when you're heartbroken, like, what, are you going to start a relationship with somebody else suddenly? uh but he actually came to Europe, and he said, "I'm gonna bring you home." And, meeting him was, I don't want to say healing. I don't want this to be like sappy, but it was nice. Suddenly, being in a relationship that was healthy, that was kind, that was equal, that was gentle. I honestly like didn't even know how to be in that. I kept like kind of flinching at
Mhm.
little um but I learned to relax through the years, and then being with him and feeling safe and feeling loved. I definitely think that that's what I needed for California to really become home, because I could never relax before then, and now I felt like there was somebody who was going to catch me if I fall or stumble or don't understand how something works, or I feel like I'm being a terrible adult in this new place where, like, I don't know how how the shopping carts work. And yeah. So So we decided to give it a go, and we've been together for like 7.5, 8 years now.
I think that is healing. I don't think that that's sappy to say that. I think you had, it sounds like, had really developed, as we talked about, this sort of confidence and self assuredness and learning who you were on your own during that time. And then to have someone who comes in and buoys that is, it is healing. It is freeing. There's a quote I really love. It says, "What a gift it is to be loved in a way that makes you feel free."
Oh my
And
god,
that is unique. And I don't want to say it's rare, but it's not common. I don't think. I hope that's changing. But
I love I love that. I think it's beautiful. I think like looking back at it, I'm like proud that I had the courage to leave something that was not good for either party. But I'm like, oh, like no, like you didn't save me. I saved myself.
yeah.
and but it is true that when he came into the picture, I felt like I could be me, and I forgot what that was like. I forgot who I was because I was trying to be quiet and not cause any disturbances, and it was a minefield where I kept just dancing through this minefield day in, day out, not knowing when it was gonna, like, explode for no reason, and while, like, loving this person so deeply, but being unable to fix them.
Mhm.
You know, I always was like this romantic, like, "Oh, if I just love this person so hard, I'm sure I'm gonna love them out of this." Guess what? Like, you might not make it long enough to save them. Like, you need to save yourself. And then, like, I was still very open to being friendly and supporting my ex-partner and getting help, but, like, it wasn't healthy to be in contact.
Mhm.
I want to take a moment to thank SOAR Running for their support. SOAR Running design and produce running apparel that does justice to the commitment and passion of runners globally. Encompassing textile innovation, pioneering design technology, sports science, and the real world experiences of runners. Their collections are designed specifically for running, for high performance racing, and also for off road adventure and endurance. And that's what I'm most excited about. Their trail line is specifically designed to be technical and durable for long adventures. It is high performance trail gear, blending innovative fabrics and detailing for off road resilience, function, and endurance. SOAR's innovation and ground up approach to product development results in a new way of thinking about trail running apparel. Check them out at soarrunning.com. That's SOAR running.com.
There is another quote that I love. Excuse me for pulling out the cheesy quotes. But the other quote is
Oh,
how it's amazing how bold one can be when one is sure of being loved. And I think what I pull from that is when you do feel safe and secure and free to be yourself. It's amazing then having that base at your core, what then you can do. Sort of expanding on that freedom.
I love
Let's
that.
come back around. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
To give an example of someone who's a very public figure, um, well, my coach, Megan Roach, who I love so much and who's just been incredible, her husband always talks about that, that she loves
Mhm.
him so fiercely, that he can just go for it because he knows that no matter what, this is always going to be there. And honestly, I feel the same about Megan. I feel like her support makes me feel like I can just go for it, and, like, she doesn't really change how she treats me based on, like, a good performance, bad performance, and I really value that deeply, but obviously, having your family, you know, running was all I had at the time that made me feel that way, and that was a very desperate feeling because I needed it. I needed running to be there, and when I got injured, which I did a lot because I didn't know what I was doing at all, I wasn't fueling myself appropriately at all, not on purpose, just out of stupidity. Not doing any physical therapy, not doing any strength training, getting injured and getting that one thing that makes you feel this way taken away is heartbreaking. Um, so having your family to fall back to, or having some other activity that you are passionate about, or having your animal at home that you love, or whatever it is you love, to kind of be like, I can go to this race and just send it, like whatever. Either it like sticks or it doesn't, but I have the freedom to be myself and to try. That's a huge gift, I think.
I think so too. When coming back to running specifically, when do you feel like you started to, you had been using this as a tool for mental health and for developing your self confidence and just enjoyment purely of being out there? When do you feel like you started to realize you had something here in a competitive sense?
So when I would say several months into being into living in the Bay Area, I found out that there was various races going on, local trail races, and I was like, I would love to try to run a 50K. And I signed up. It was a local 50K in the hills of Calero County Park, which is pretty steep. It's beautiful, but it's like not flat at all. And so this 50K with like almost 8,000 feet of climbing, I show up in my like very questionable gear choices. I was dragging so much stuff. Like you have no, I, I just had like layers and layers of clothing and a backpack. Well, it was a vest, but it was full of stuff that I never used. Um, and I showed up and I remember the race director being like, okay, so who's here for their first trail race? Because they thought it was funny that somebody would pick this as their first trail race. And I just like raised my hand and they were like, whoa, okay, kid, good luck. But I did it and I loved it and I thought it was great. I definitely had no idea what I was doing. I ate 2 breakfast burritos right before the race because I thought you just had to eat so much to like survive the day because I didn't like realize there was sports nutrition available. And then I had like a few Cliff Blocks during the race. And that was it. And they were caffeinated Cliff Blocks and um after the race I told somebody that I took these Cliff Blocks during, and they were like, "Oh, wow." And I was like, "Oh, no. Is caffeine, like, not allowed? What if I, like, cheated?" I took these caffeinated I wasn't sure if caffeine was allowed during this race. It's like, nobody cares, you know? But I'm very serious about it. I didn't wanna break any rules. I was making sure well, clearly breakfast burritos were allowed, so it was okay. I never broke any rules, but I definitely was very clueless, but I was in love with it. Um, and yeah, so I just kept wanting to recreate that feeling because it was something that made me strong and powerful and like feeling just I don't know how to describe it better than it just made me feel like myself.
Mm,
And I really needed that.
yeah. I don't want to fast forward too much, but I do want to fast forward a little bit. Coming from that first 50K and all of the stuff in your backpack and having no idea what you were doing, you have really developed an elite career for yourself here at this point. I just like a couple things people will recognize. You've won the inaugural Mammoth Trail Fest 50K. You've been on the podium at Javelina 100K. I'm saying that right. You have been first and on the podium a couple times at Quad Dipsy. And as we said, you were just fresh off the podium at Big Alta. What do you feel like you were learning and absorbing along the way from? I know there's a lot of life in there as well, but from that first 50K to where you are now that has helped you develop that career.
Oh my gosh. I think the Mammoth was like a third year of it happening. Actually, I think Mammoth has been going on for a few years. But
Year that you won?
yeah, I think so. But don't worry about it. It's not important. I think there was others before me. But Mammoth is a beautiful run, by the way. I highly, highly, highly recommend the Trail Fest. Austin's doing an incredible job. Um, I have learned something at each of those, and I've done many more races, like completed
Mhm,
many races, and I've also didn't complete some of them, which was
mhm,
tough. Those taught me probably the most. The ones that I wasn't able to finish or decided I didn't want to finish, those taught me the most. And the ones that I did finish definitely taught me as well, but maybe slightly other things. Because like winning is great. Doesn't teach you that much.
mhm.
it, it's
Yeah.
great. Like it did help me with confidence. It did teach me that I can overcome. But when you fail, clearly that's when you get the lesson. And it took me a while to understand that that too is a gift and
Mm,
you need to take that lesson. It doesn't mean that you win or you lose. Like you win or you learn. And I have learned a lot. And even at Big Alta last weekend, sorry, 10 days ago, I have learned a huge lesson. And I'm gonna very gratefully take it to my next adventure. Yeah.
we'll come back and talk about Big Alta in a second. What do you think helped make that mindset shift for you of you don't win or lose, you win or learn? And I'll add on to that, I wonder out loud, did motherhood play a role in that for you?
Oh my gosh. Motherhood definitely played a role. My coach definitely played a role. Like I said, Megan, we've worked together since last year, since the beginning of last year. And basically the entire 2025 was an absolute crapshoot. Just, we were sick all the time. My baby got into he started like a new, preschool. Um, and basically just got sick over and over again. I caught all of it. We were always kind of just stuck. I felt very stuck. I felt like I was feeling pretty down health wise, and just like time is ticking and I'm here and I'm observing this sport that I love so much and I care so much about it. And I like try to be nonchalant, but like whatever. I care so deeply about this, and I'm like sick of pretending to be chill. I'm not chill. I want to be there. I want to do it. I want to go balls to the wall. Like, please let me out of this cage.
I
and
love
I,
this.
I cannot pretend anymore. I care very much about it, and it was tough not being there, sitting on the sidelines. Um, kind of heartbroken. Showing to these races either like unprepared because we were sick or just ugh, just various things. My husband had a pretty serious thing happen last year. He had like a nerve pain flare up that was very serious. Like he had trouble walking basically. Um um and has worked with a physical therapist and is much better now, but at the time it was like, oh my gosh, what is happening to our family? Like we're having all these health issues. It was just a series of unfortunate events. And when once you like lose that momentum and these things keep happening and you are observing this sport that is growing exponentially every year now. I'm talking like female trail running is booming and these women are fierce and I love it, but I also want to be there.
Mhm.
And I started to like really doubt, like, was I ever going to do it again to my satisfaction, or was I just gonna observe it from distance as it just keeps kind of running away from me? Um, but once we got a little glimpse of like health and like a little more stable health, like overcoming some of these things. And obviously life goes up and down, and sometimes you're down, you're like, oh, I'm always going to be down. There's no way this is getting better. And then it gets better, and you're like, we this is always been great. There's no way we're going down now. Well, guess what? Um anyway, once we got a little bit out of that hole, um and I put myself in some of these situations again where I tried to run some races. I think I just somehow we went through a lot last year, and I just came out of it with this mindset of like, first of all, I have nothing to lose in terms of like competitive like um aspirations. Like I had terrible races last year. I had DNFs, I had whatever place, whatever. I knew that that was not my potential. Nobody cares, right? But I cared. Um, and I just told myself like, time is precious. This year is also never coming back. But if you give me a chance, God, I will go and I will take it. And I promise you, I will take it. I don't need to pray about, oh, please let me be first place at Big Alta. No, I don't pray about that. I pray that I get a chance. Please just give me a chance and I'll do the rest. Yeah. So I just kind of, the races that I showed up to this year, I just showed up thinking like, I want to be here. Like I am fairly calm and collected at the start line, which is new. And I really want to be here because there's been so many times when I wasn't able to. I was at home with a sick baby and everybody else was doing what I wanted to be doing. I mean, not that I don't want to be, I absolutely want to be with my baby. I just don't want to be sick.
Right.
Like, I love spending time with my son, but it's nice to have something on the side for yourself.
It's important
Yeah.
too.
So this year, especially for Big Alta, I really showed up to the start line and I was like, something's different. Like, is this gross? Like, is this what people talk about? Wow. I am so happy to just be here. I'm so grateful. Like, I can't believe we made it to the start line. It's so hard to make it to the start line when you have a small child. I don't think people that don't have kids understand how hard it is to make it to a start line and be healthy and actually be ready and think, I think I can run 62 miles today. Like,
Mhm.
what a luxury, what a privilege, what a huge, huge privilege to have the energy in your body and life that you can do this insane extreme sport where you completely deplete your body. And at the end of the day, there are people that are going to take care of you and bring you food, and you get to sleep and you still have enough energy to live life after that. Like, most people on the planet don't have this, and I want to be here.
I think, coming back to that quote we talked about feeling free, I think there's something to be said there too for like when you feel supported in your body, when you have not been healthy and you are in a place that you feel healthy, you feel strong, you feel capable, that also allows you then to race and to run free
Yeah.
and joyous. Um, let's
I
come
also
around to go
also
ahead.
want to I've definitely struggled in the past, maybe like comparing myself a little too much to. I just set the bar for myself very high, and I definitely have trouble like lowering it. I do want the bar to be high for myself, but I also want it to be high for other women. I don't need to go to these races to like prove to myself I'm somehow better than them. Like, I want us all to elevate each other. And I really showed up to Big Alta and I was like, I really like respect these ladies. I really do. I don't have as much of like, you know, uh, like, sure, like all of us sometimes feel like, like I wish I want to win, or I want to crush it. But I also am at peace with seeing other women succeed, like, doesn't make me unhappy at all. Yeah, there's not a So I think once you get to that place, then you're free to perform to your best ability.
Hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's come around and talk about Big Alta. I'm so excited to hear the breakdown. I've heard a little bit from Robin, and like I said, I listened to the post race interview. Robin and Anna have both been on the podcast before, so I'm familiar with their personality types and know who you were racing with up there. And very easy women to enjoy racing with. I think that that mindset you're talking about wanting to lift others up so that you all can rise together. Those are the three of you sort of exemplify that just in who you are, your personalities, but then to get to race together and push each other. Uh, Talk a little bit about the day. This course starts in the dark, I believe, right under the Golden Gate Bridge. What were those early miles setting up for the day?
So I just want to say, I didn't know Robin going into it. I knew of her and I followed her on like Instagram. But Anna Loudon is a phenomenal runner, and I feel like she doesn't know this, or I've recently told her, but so now she knows. But she definitely has some of the qualities that uh, I work on as a runner, because I've seen her have incredible races, course record, super fast. I've seen her have races that I'm sure weren't up to what I mean, most people would say they were still incredible, but to her, I know deep down she wanted more.
Mhm.
She didn't get that golden ticket that time, or she didn't get what she wanted, but she was still smiling. She was still working really hard. She never give up. Like she never gave up. I don't even know if she ever DNF'd anything, which is very impressive. I I have definitely DNF'd multiple things. Um, yeah, I mean, so she was someone who, on the start line, I was like, I am honored to compete with you.
Mm.
Uh, and ultimately, Anna beat me by like a minute, so in it. But like a mile from the finish line. But okay, let's start with the day. Starts in the dark, pretty epic because you start by the Golden Gate Bridge, which, oh, I could talk about the Gate Bridge for a long time, but every time I see it, I'm in awe because I'm in San Francisco and like I live here. I mean, I don't live in San Francisco per se, but like I live here now. So, but I'm still like, "Ooh, it's the bridge. Let me take pictures for the 700th time." Um, so it's very exciting. And you're going on an adventure, and I love that feeling. And it's a point to point course. Um, so it's cool because you're like, I'm never gonna. You're basically traveling through this beautiful landscape, and you know that the places you see, you're not coming back. That's
Mhm.
you're going forward the whole day. 100 kilometers all the way to the finish line, and you're gonna see all the iconic places. Ooh, sorry, that was our decoration fell down. Um, you're gonna see very iconic places. You're gonna see Stinson Beach, Muir Beach, Mount Tam. You're going to the top of Mount Tam. So you're excited to see all those places, even though some of us have seen them before. I love those places. I think they're magical. So I was very excited, but I also knew that my eyesight isn't the best. I don't like to run in the dark. I'm just like slightly uncomfortable with it, but I'll do it. I have to. So I took it out fairly conservatively, and I'm very glad I did. And coming back to that mindset of being at peace and being confident enough in your own abilities and your own power that you can start the way you want to, not out of feeling like, oh no, if I don't start with these women, then I'm not as good as them. Oh my God, the race is running away. I can't keep up. Like, you can't feed yourself this negativity. And I definitely, there's no need for like toxic positivity. Like, that doesn't, that needs to be said. Like, you don't need to pretend that things are great when they aren't. Like, we can be real, but be mindful of what you tell yourself, because everything that goes into your brain from your social media, from the people that you surround yourself with, that's all a diet. That's like a diet. It's like a mental diet. And you control what goes in. and you also control what you tell yourself. And if you, um, it's a lot of work, but if you work on it, you know, the stories that you tell yourself get a little more positive, I guess. So I was telling myself, I know what I'm doing, I belong here, and I'm doing this. And I need to trust that I know what I'm doing. And so I didn't see those girls until like I caught up to Anna at mile 20, let's say, on an uphill on Dipsy, which I'm very comfortable on Dipsy. I love steep uphill. So I was like, this is great because this is my strength and I am doing what I said I was gonna do. And look at me. I'm doing it. So kind of feeds into that like cycle of like I know what I'm doing here. Then another move was I caught up to Robin on Mount Tam climb. She's like a 8 mile, 3,000 feet of climbing. Again, I'm very comfortable there. And I made this move and I was leading for a while, but unfortunately, I made a mistake and I definitely did not drink enough water, which is probably the stupidest mistake you could make. It was really hot, or like fairly hot. Um, I did not hydrate properly. I definitely like dug myself into a little hole around mile 40 to 50. And sadly, those girls caught up to me again. But like I said, I was at peace. I take that lesson. Like it was a valuable lesson. I'm very grateful that I get to use it again, because I get another try soon or soon-ish, and hopefully, I can implement that hydration strategy now and get a little better at this thing again.
To highlight for anybody who didn't watch or didn't watch recaps of the finish of the race, it ended up being the three of you, all three finished within about 4.5 minutes of each other, which is wild when you have been out there racing for not quite 10 hours.
Uh,
But even like within those 4.5 minutes, the way it played out, like you said, so Robin Lesh ultimately took the win, and Anna Loudon only passed you in that last mile. Like so tight, so like real honest racing all the way to the finish line, which I think is incredible to watch just as a fan of the sport.
when
Um,
Anna passed me, I was just deceased. I was so I was over on the side of the trail. I knew there was a mile to the finish. I have done that run. I know what the finishing miles look like, but I was so gone. I was so dehydrated. It was my own fault. I saw her in the behind me and I was like, I'm just trying not to pass out and I'm rolling myself to the finish line. Like, just please body, just get me there somehow. When it comes to Robin, Robin passed me at an aid station. So we never like had chance to like exchange any kind of words. I suddenly see Robin in front of me. So I thought I was in lead still at mile 50. And I see Robin in front of me and I'm like, is this like a hallucination or is that Robin? Or is it somebody else? Like I was so out of it. And then I see her for so long in front of me, but I'm unable to make any kind of moves. So I'm just trying to somehow keep seeing her in front of me. Oh my gosh, that course is so ruthless. Like it's so stunning, but you literally see everybody in front of you and they're kind of far. Like she was 2 minutes ahead, or 1 minute ahead. And then she obviously ended up being like 4 minutes ahead or something. I forget what it was, but it was very close. Yeah, she was great. She kept fighting. I think she really fueled herself well. She took care of herself. Um like it's interesting because ultra running, a lot of it is not purely about fitness. Like people keep saying like, "Oh, the fastest runner is gonna win." No, not really. Like, not saying that Robin isn't the fastest. She might be, but there's so many other factors, right? There's
mhm.
like the mental uh status of what you're able to endure in that time, and how you feel, and if your body is able to withstand this like fatigue and the day, and what is your genetics when it comes to heat, and so on and so on, and your gear, and many other things. So I like that puzzle. I think it's cool. I don't want to be running on a track being like, I'm not young and fit anymore. I want to go on an adventure. I want to, I want to see what that's like.
Piece all those pieces together. Um, Talk a little bit coming across the finish line and maybe in the days to follow as well. Obviously, hydration was a lesson learned. What other things do you feel like you learned across the day
You know,
or reinforced even?
I think this race went really well actually. Yeah, like sure I didn't win, blah blah blah, but it went really well because this was my third 100K. The first one I did was a while ago. I was pregnant when I did that. I didn't know I was pregnant. Do not recommend, but we were both healthy luckily. So uh I still kind of didn't know what I was doing, I guess, back then. Then I did have Alina. I was still breastfeeding when I did that. There's a lot of results on Ultra Sign Up that I have that are like postpartum or breastfeeding or like this and that or pregnant. I even ran some races pregnant. So like results are whatever. But I am really proud how I handled my mind at Big Alta. I'm not necessarily interested in ultra running in like uh sorry, can I say a bad word?
Yeah.
Like I'm not interested in the pissing contest of who can do the most miles and who can get the this and that. I really am interested in what happens when you do this. Like what happens in your mind? Can you handle that? What happens with your body? How does that feel? Like I don't want to go to my grave not knowing these. Like I'm very curious. I want to experience all those deeply human emotions, those highs and those lows and those like I was in that fire and I didn't flinch.
Mm.
Uh, I think doing a race like that, like 100 kilometer, let's say, I've never done anything longer, so I can't tell you sadly, but hopefully this year. But basically, it's like a concentrated human experience, right? You feel so great, and then you feel horrible, and then you feel so loved when you see your people at the station, at the aid station or something. Then water tastes great, and then the burger, and then everything is just. And then sometimes you feel like you're gonna die, but you're not. Hopefully. Um, but what did I learn at Big Alta? I learned that I can trust that I can make moves, and that I can hopefully, you know, uh, um, how do I put this? Like, I definitely am not sad in any way that I made those moves, even though these girls ended up basically overtaking me in the end. Like I'm still very proud of making those moves because last year I would have never had the confidence to do so, or the peace in my mind to do so, and I will do that again. And hopefully if I learn about hydration and stuff a little more, then I can also keep racing to the finish line, not just surviving. But I only raced for a good 50 miles. I was very proud of that. And sadly, it was not a 50 miler. But yeah, it definitely gave me a little confidence boost. Like, um, it's nice if you're working on something so hard that something gives you like a confirmation that you do actually belong there. Because my biggest fear isn't like lose or this and that. My biggest fear is like somehow finding out that I thought I belonged somewhere and I didn't. That would be like heartbreaking for me.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems just to echo back to you, like you really took it took trust in yourself to race the way that you did, and it sounds like you really proved to yourself that you can trust yourself and know that you are capable. You belong in the place that you are. I love that.
Thank you. I think
Um,
it comes back to kind of maybe that was the main fear. Like when I first moved here to California, like I felt like I didn't belong at all.
mhm,
Uh, just felt always self-conscious, awkward. Like people know I'm not from here. They constantly ask about the accent. Like I don't know, and I'm gonna tell them. Then they're gonna be like, "Oh, where is that? Is that in Russia?" And then I get upset because it's not. But it just that I used to be. I mean, I'm still homesick in a way that I miss my friends and family, but I'm not homesick. Like it doesn't like affect my daily life
mhm,
the way it did because I do feel like I belong here. I have friends here. I have family here. I love that I get to be here now. Um, but yeah, like that feeling of like not knowing where you belong or where like what do I do? Like who am I? Where are my all these people that I've been surrounded with since I was a child? They're all very, very far on a different time zone. When they call me on the phone, they ask how I am, and I can't tell them how I am because it's heartbreaking.
mm.
So, um, finally finding like your place and finding where you belong and people that support you in that is just it's a beautiful feeling. Um, yeah.
I love that. It's easy to see where your state of gratitude comes from at this stage of your life, of your career. Um, I feel like we could keep talking for a couple more hours, but we can't, at least in this recording. Um, I want to ask, I was on your Ultra sign up before we hopped on this call, so I have a few ideas, but I want to ask what is coming up next for you?
Oh my gosh, Lauren, I signed up for everything.
I saw that.
I was like, "Well, I'm sure we're gonna get sick," or like last year I signed up for a few things and like I either didn't show up or I showed up like half sick. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna sign up for everything, take my money daybreak racing." And I'm like I like signed up for a bunch of things and now I have to do them because we're like pretty healthy. So I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, quick turnaround. I'm really trying to do Gorge Waterfalls next 2 weeks from now, which like doing 100Ks like 2 weeks apart is uh not like the best. However, um this is gonna sound so cocky, but I don't feel like I ran that fast at Big Alta. Uh like I feel like I can send it more. And I don't feel like I was that wrecked after. Yeah, I was really sore for like 3 days. I ate like 10 burgers in those 3 days, and I just feel much better now. So I think I'm gonna give it a try. And maybe race a little more like gutsy
Mm.
with that um new lessons that I learned
Well,
and
like
try
you said, being curious about what you're
yeah.
capable of, what your body can do in this sport.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
super curious. I'm also like thinking Oregon. I've never been to Oregon or Washington. Um, I mean, how cool is that? Like, when do I get to do this? And there's waterfalls. What? I wouldn't.
Mhm.
Have you done it?
I haven't done it, but I've watched the live stream.
Have you, right? And yeah, it's just being curious and knowing that even if it completely backfires, even if I'm last place or whatever it is, then that it was still worth it, and that I still wanted to be there. I think
Mhm.
important for me. Like I get to be here and most people don't. And I worked very hard to be here.
Love that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll try that and then if I'm able to finish the race and if I'm able to run it to how I want to run it, then I might take a break. Just a little a little bit.
And a few options there on the other side, depending on how you decide to
Yeah,
proceed with those.
yeah, our son is starting a new little TK in August. So those races in like August, September are very much like up in the air, but I'm happy. I love having something on the calendar.
Hmm.
What about you?
Oh, gee. Well, I'll tell you when we stop recording.
That's true.
I'll circle back around to that for listeners who are curious too. But for you, final question that is one of my favorite questions, and I think maybe particularly poignant for you is if you could go back and give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
So, oh my goodness. That girl was so scared. Um, just scared. Just she smoked cigarettes. She was really scared. She was in college and just I would just tell her like, "Okay, just keep your head down, keep grinding. We're gonna be fine. Lean on those people that love you. It's not a burden, just like they're not a burden to you. And no matter what happens, keep going and it will all fall into place."
Mm, I love that. Sylvia, I've really enjoyed this conversation. You've had a lot of experiences and reflections and learning points that have really resonated with me, and I think will really resonate with a lot of listeners too. I appreciate you being so vulnerable and open in sharing
Mm.
your story, sharing your experiences. I think it is impactful. So thank you.
So much, Lauren, for this. It was my pleasure, and thank you for listening and
Mhm.
so kind. And
Mm.
you're an incredible podcaster. I love listening to all the fierce women you have on.
Thank you. You guys make it easy.
I hope you have a great day.